Okay, this is a screencast of how to solve a buggy collision problem. So this is very similar to what we did in class or in that Dueling Buggy lab activity. So let's start. We have buggy collision. So I'm going to set up the problem with two buggies a certain distance apart. That was the question. If I have a buggy here, like a blue buggy that is, and we'll have the blue buggy travel this direction at 5 centimeters per second. And on the other side, a known distance away, we have a red buggy and the red buggy travels at 3 centimeters per second. And these guys are going to start, I'm going to start them 80 centimeters apart. And so the question we dealt with in class was where will they collide? So where is a location question, a position question. In order to solve this problem, I am going to first find the time. So step one, I'm going to find the time it takes to collide, and then in step two, I will determine the position of that collision. In this particular solution, I'm going to do this algebraically using equations. In class, we have done this using graphs. So you can refer to your class notes. We all did a problem about two horses running in opposite directions. So to start out, I'm going to make a little table. And this is a table often used in math classes. And we'll have the red and the blue row. And each column is going to be one of three variables: d, speed. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to make that velocity. I'm doing that because I want to include direction, and time. And we know from our previous studies that distance equals velocity times time. We've talked about that so far. I'm actually going to change my mind. Sorry, guys. I'm going to make that speed again. That will work better. Now, you were given some information in the problem at the outset. You were told the speed of each object. You were told the blue car and the red car each travel at 5 and 3 centimeters respectively, centimeters per second. So blue speed is 5, and I'm going to put the units right here, centimeters per second, and red was 3. Now, here, as I write down how my steps, the speed was given. Here's the next thing that I can realize, or the next concept. T for each buggy. is the same. So I'm just simply going to represent each time with the letter T. There's nothing to it. The reason I know the time is the same, we started the buggies together, and we said 1, 2, 3, go, and they ran. And then the collision happened at the same time. The red buggy hit the blue buggy when the blue buggy hit the red buggy. So the amount of time it takes for them to collide is the same. So I don't have to distinguish between their times. Next is where I'm going to do some algebra. We said that d equals v times t. So in the column here, marked d, I'm just going to multiply the speed and the time, and I get an expression that says 3 times t for the red buggy and 5 times t for the blue buggy. And although that doesn't seem like a huge step forward, it really helps me because I know add up the total distances that's my next step. If I add up the total distances, 3t plus 5t equals the total distance that the buggies travel, or the distance between the buggies, which in this case was 80 centimeters. So add the total distances and set equal to the initial separation of the buggies. This is an equation we can solve. 3t plus 5t equals 80 works really well for us. So let's come down here and actually solve that. 3t plus 5t equals 80. 3t and 5t can be combined. 8t equals 80. T equals 10. And the unit on that is going to be seconds. And what this tells us is that it takes 10 seconds for the buggies to collide. Remember, that was step 1. If we go all the way back up to my notes here, we wanted to find the time it takes to collide. So all of this was step 1. Here's where this is going to help us in step 2. Step 2 is to figure out the distance they travel. And to do this, I'm just going to plug t equals 10 seconds into distance equals speed times time for each of the buggies. So for the red buggy, d equals speed 3 centimeters per second times 10 seconds. That's 30 centimeters. Blue, d equals 5 centimeters per second times 10 seconds. That gets us 50 centimeters. Or what this means, the red buggy is going to travel 30 centimeters, so about there. The blue buggy is going to travel 50 centimeters, about there. And our collision is going to happen right here. And that is how we do the buggy collision problem.